Ladies and gentlemen, it is week 10 here at the Downshift Esports community, and we are sitting here at the virtual Phoenix Raceway here in Avondale, Arizona. It's a blazing hot afternoon here in the racing community at Downshift Esports, but we can just see the tenacity and the sweat off of these drivers' eyebrows as we get ready for the final street stock race of the season. My name is Drew Akers, and I am accompanied, thankfully, for the last race by Brian Schubert over here with me in the booth today. Brian, it's going to be a fantastic race. I mean, every single Phoenix race that we've had so far has proven just phenomenal in terms of excitement, and I think I'm going to be absolutely thrilled with what's going to happen here today.
Well, Drew, I hope you brought your sunglasses for a couple of reasons. Our shining star today, Mr. Jimmy Hayden, who has just put on a stellar performance so far over the past 10 weeks, and as well as, well, we've had 2 night races in a row. USA International Speedway, then Charlotte Motor Speedway, where we really saw the effects of the night racing, where the cars were cold, the tracks were cold, the tires were cold, and let's be honest, Drew, we saw everybody into the wall. We saw multiple incidences. We set the record at USA International Speedway for the most cautions in a downshift event. So now that we're going to sunny Arizona, honestly, it's kind of a breath of fresh air because I think we're going to see some really good racing today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the heat's really going to wear on these guys, I think, for sure, just due to the fact of just the tires itself, right? The tires are really going to wear a lot in terms of this track, and it gets very, very slippery. But you know who doesn't slip a whole lot is Jimmy Hayden right there. Yeah, in the 24. He has said he loves this track. He is thrilled that we get to finish it here in Phoenix, in Avondale, in the virtual Phoenix Raceway, and I think we're in for a good surprise today.
Well, since he's pulling into the pits right now, Drew, what is the pit strategy today? How long can our cars last for, tires and fuel?
It's a good thing you mentioned that, Brian. It's going to be interesting. 100 laps today here in Phoenix is what we're going to see. So it's probably going to get somewhere around 40 laps of fuel in terms of these cars, if I remember correctly. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers will handle it. It's going to be tough, for sure. I mean, you can see the sliding that's going on with Cole Meichert there in the number 3 car and the 15 of Kenny McGrath. So these guys are really going to have to wrangle that car in order to keep the wheels under them. But sad to see right now, one name I don't see on the timing sheet right now is Sean Ryan. And that's a pretty big surprise to me, Brian.
I mean, Sean right now is runner-up in the points championship, currently the only driver able to challenge Jimmy Hayden. 71 points currently separates them between Sean Ryan and Jimmy Hayden. Going into week number 9, Drew, there is only 1 point separating those drivers, but we saw Sean Ryan have some incidences in Charlotte that unfortunately dropped them a few points behind Jimmy Hayden.
Absolutely, and not to mention just the fantastic finish that we had last week as well. It was a great finish overall. Maybe some controversy in some places, but overall, just an exciting finish that we saw. And today, I mean, we come in 100 laps at Phoenix, of all places, to end it. I think a lot of people are going to be real happy. So great to see what's going to come out of this race today. It's awesome. It's just a fantastic track overall, and I'm really excited to see how these drivers are going to handle it. But another note as well, tires might be one of the biggest things, Brian, in terms of wear here, because it gets so slippery on the exit of 3 and 4 right there. I mean, it can really hurt your race if you do not get that car under you. So we'll have to see how they do. They've got 4 total tire sets to work with as well, and I think if we're going to see a lot of cautions, that we might see quite a few people jumping into the pits.
So, Drew, is there an optimal strategy going for tires? Should you be going for all 4 tires? Should you be going only for lefts or only for rights? Because we see that every so often in NASCAR, right, Drew, where we're seeing drivers elect to go for the load-bearing tire set instead of going for all 4.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting question, actually, because it's usually not my forte. You know, I'm very bad with driving in general, so it's kind of just like I'll take tires whenever I can because I'm so used to them. But I think,
I mean, coming from road, same way, right? You put all tires on, all fuel, and then you go from there. So when I see this, witchcraft in the background where Jimmy Hayden is going for only the outside set, it's just like. My 3 brain cells sometimes can't compute that.
Your 3 brain cells? What about my 2? I mean, but I completely agree with you there. It's going to be interesting just to see how these guys can manage the tire sets in general. The biggest thing in terms of tire sets, just overall with oval, is really kind of just the outsides of the tire, both the outsides and the insides of the tire. Really, you don't have a lot of wear on that middle. Just because of the camber of these cars, but I mean, it's these guys run it as if they're kind of just running snowmobiles down the sideline. It's kind of weird. They're sideways sometimes coming out of the exits here at Phoenix specifically. So exciting stuff to watch. And I mean, looking at the temperature, 90 degrees on track. That is actually pretty cold in terms of Phoenix, wouldn't you say, Brian?
I was thinking exactly the same thing, Drew. Like, whenever you go to Phoenix, Arizona, it's either 1,000,000 degrees, so it's like 105, or it's like 55 degrees outside, and it's just unbearable. That's the beauty about living in the desert. It's never nice. It is either just way too hot or way too cold. I was in Phoenix around this time a couple of years ago, and it was actually decently nice. It was probably about 80 degrees.
Really?
So, you know what? I'll vouch for it.
That's unheard of. I don't believe you.
It was the one good week of the year.
I mean,
Pixar. I can't fly the picture if you want.
Hey, any picture with you in it is probably going to be a good one. So we'll have to see. But we'll also take a look at the point standings as they run. As you mentioned, Jimmy Hayden running up top in those point standings, and unfortunately, it seems that Sean Ryan might not. But actually, he has joined, so we will see the number 9 of Sean Ryan coming into this race. And with 22 drivers on track, it's definitely going to be a Hail Mary for him in terms of Jimmy Hayden probably needing to finish dead last, with Sean Ryan getting all the bonus points in that aspect. But not to look too far down the line, a battle for 5th place all the way through 10th. They're all separated by just around 20 to 30 points. So I think that's going to be a great battle to watch as well.
I am concerned for Sean Ryan, though, Drew, because we saw all of our drivers currently practicing. They had about 30 minutes in their car with the current track conditions here at Phoenix. And Sean Ryan, 71 points behind Jimmy Hayden. And Jimmy Hayden has been consistently the best driver in Downshift, both in the Street Stocks and the Formula Vs. And Sean Ryan, with 0 practice, hopping into qualifying, I'm concerned about his lap time because if we look at the distribution of times going into the practice, I mean, the top 5 drivers were all more or less on top of each other, and Sean Ryan is going to have to come in completely cold. I'm not talking about car cold, I'm talking about mentally cold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing, he's battling with Jimmy not only in the points, but on this track specifically. Jimmy has said he loves this track. He prefers this track. He wants to be at this track at all times. So it's going to be very difficult for him just to even get himself in the mindset for him to battle today, I think. So it's going to be exciting just to see how he is. And another of those drivers that we're looking forward to seeing doing well today as well, Coy McGrath, that superior number 2, as he refers to himself, trying to beat out his brother, Kenny McGrath, as they continue their battle to for superiority here in the Downshift Esports leagues, Brian.
Well, Drew, you know what? We've been hyping up Jimmy Hayden the entire time. Let's actually hop on board with him right now and see what a flying lap here is at Phoenix. Because if he's so good at Phoenix, if he is the Phoenix man himself, since he's a rising star,
absolutely,
let's on board with him.
Absolutely. We'll take a look as he goes into turn 1 and 2 right there. You see just how close he is getting to that yellow line in the middle of the corner, but it seems like he held the gas a little bit too much right there. Bad lap from that number 24 car, so he'll be sure to get another lap here. That's going to be very good. He's going to wind it up here, but looking at exactly what he's doing, you can see just kind of how on edge those back tires are as well. It's almost like you're sliding. It really is. It's almost like it's on ice almost at points. And of course, as we go to the gyro cam into his car, he's going to do a little swerve for us. So some interesting times going to come out from him, but he also currently holds the top time at a 32.04.
Drew, I want you to listen to this throttle going into this corner. Listen to that throttle steer. Do you see what he's doing with that car? So
absolutely.
He's a pretty big lift. It sounds like about 25% throttle into that corner, allowing the car to start to deaccelerate, not necessarily with the brakes, but with the wheel. And then he starts to slowly squeeze on that throttle and allows the car to start to transfer weight back to those rear wheels. It is inducing just a smidge of understeer, but it's allowing that car to track all the way out to that wall. That's how he's just flying through this lap right now. I mean, it's just that throttle steer, and that's really what separates Jimmy Hayden from a lot of these drivers, is that raw mechanical, technical understanding of the race car.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the adjustments that he's making on his steering wheel right there. He's back and forth trying to make sure that anything that he does to that car doesn't unsettle it too much in that aspect. And he does a very good job. I mean, right there, he gets 300ths faster than his previous time, down to a 32.01. But you can bet on his Bud Light livery there that he's going to be, or the Solana livery, sorry, that he's going to be trying to get to the 31s.
You know what? I actually have a hypothesis right now, Drew. So
what's
do you
that?
mind if I put a tinfoil hat on my head right now?
Oh, boy.
So the reason why Mr. Hayden is so good in our street stocks and then in the Vs is because of that throttle modulation, right? And especially with the Vs, right? Like, a lot of our drivers, if you go into their onboard, they're doing like what I call the Corvette driving, where you just have these big motions, big on throttle, big on brake, big weight transfer moments. But the secret Jimmy Hayden is like he's deaccelerating the car with the wheel, and I think a lot of people forget about that, right? When you're turning the wheel, it just slows the car down. It's called scrubbing, and people just sometimes forget about that. So when they go into a corner, they put a lot of brake in, and then they forget, oh, hey, now that I'm turning, I'm still continuing to deaccelerate.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to the scrubbing part, I think it's pretty easy, even here at Phoenix, just to scrub, just looking at the track, right? Just look at how small the banking is. I mean, it is no more than 9 degrees into turns 3 and 4. And most of these tracks that we go to usually have a banking in the double digits, more towards the 20%. So it's very, very almost like you're getting onto a straightaway, because I mean, even the straightaways aren't straight. They are still banked as well, 3 degrees on both the front and the back stretch. So I mean, they're not sitting flat at any point except for the pit lane, and that's also something that they're going to have to look out for in particular. If they go below that yellow line, they're going to be in trouble.
Oh, that's some bad news right now for you, Drew. There are no returning race winners other than Mr. Jimmy Hayden right now. Scott Sterinski from week number 9 is not returning. Tyler Tomasi isn't returning, and our drivers from earlier in the season as well, who ended up dropping out, they're not currently returning to Phoenix for the final race of the year. So right now, if we're looking at just running order and where our drivers are on track, I mean, Jimmy Hayden has put himself in an excellent position.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And I think Jimmy Hayden's one of those that doesn't, or likes to finish what he starts as well. He does not want to leave this out on the table at all, and it shows by all the points that he's accrued over the course of the season. I mean, with the tight battle with Sean Ryan up until this point, it's been very exciting to see them back and forth going in terms of the points. One of them gets the most laps led, the other gets the most laps led, because that's one of the biggest bonus points as well. That's 5 extra points that you can gain on the table. So it's been exciting to watch both of them try and battle their way, especially with the newcomers that we saw over the course of the season as well in those previous winners who are not here tonight. So just overall, going to be a great race, I think, and I'm really looking forward to it here in a few minutes.
This is probably the most even I've ever seen out of a qualifying spread. Out of the 19 drivers on track right now, 18 of them are currently all publishing times within the 32s. Of course, as I say that, Drew, Jimmy Hayden says, "Not today, Brian," and publishes a 31.99, the fastest time all day and the only driver to break out of the 32s. That is a brilliant lap time.
Absolutely, and another driver that's really struggling is at number 9, Sean Ryan. He currently sits in 9th place at this very moment, and I mean, I don't think either of them have really had any chances to draft off of this track right now during the qualifying. So it's been really interesting to watch how Jimmy Hayden is just naturally getting this speed. He's pulling this out of somewhere, and like we said before, he loves Phoenix, so that must be where it comes from as well. I don't know if I would love Phoenix, to be honest. I like my snow, and you don't get a lot of snow here, Brian. I mean, right now, my nearly bald head is probably scalding, but might need to get an umbrella.
Well, I told you to wear your sunglasses, so I guess if you buy a really big pair of sunglasses, like at Disneyland, you can put it on your bald head.
Listen, I have... Okay, listen. I have the sunglasses. I just prefer that my eyeballs don't get burned out before my head does. Is that okay? Like, I'm also ginger, so it's easy to burn here, all right? So... bring me back to Colorado. I like the mountains, but 3 minutes and some change left in qualifying, though. And I mean, it's hard to see if anyone's really going to be challenging Jimmy at this point.
Cole Micret is the only driver anywhere close, currently sitting 2nd in qualifying. A number 3 car with a 32.13. I mean, if he has some help from the 16 car of Storzum behind Andrew Storzum, it might be possible. But right now, Andrew is the beneficiary of the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And that draft can pull him up to him. That would be the only case where that number 3 of Cole Micret gets any kind of help in terms of the timings right there. But as we're alluding to right now, it's so difficult. And Andrew Storzum doing really well in that draft just to take the corner so well, as Cole Micret was struggling right there.
Yeah, but if you're kind of like battling for position there, you're not only hopping offline. If you're Cole, you've broken the toe of Andrew Storzum behind you, and you're not going to be running a fast lap time.
Absolutely.
As they come across the finish line, Andrew Storzum actually just published their best time with a 32.19. And Sean Ryan,
look at
there
that.
we go, 32.13. You know, we said that, is Sean Ryan going to be cold today? He didn't have any practice beforehand, but the number 9 car returns to their rightful spot in the 2nd place position.
And I think that's rightfully owed to him within this entire battle that they've had all season. Only 14 hundredths down, and look at that, almost going sideways out of the turn. That might have even gained him a little bit of speed as he crosses the start-finish line. Doesn't improve on the time right there. Ever so close to improving, but not quite right there. So we'll have to see if he goes for another one. 1 minute and 15 seconds left, though. I'm not sure if he'll have enough time.
Do you know who just worked their way up to the 6th place spot, Drew? Mr. Brian Voles.
Look at
Mr.
that.
Bad Luck Brian himself. I mean, we always talk about Brian Voles as being this driver who has just incredible individual skill, who has done wonderful in Downshift Esports events up to a certain point where they always seem to get involved into events that just aren't their fault. Like every single V race, every single street stock, Brian is always involved in some unfortunate incident. I guess we can say the same thing about Kenny McGrath. I guess that's why he's the inferior brother.
We very much could. We could say that for a lot of drivers, to be honest. I mean, especially that of Jet Biachamp, the number 4 car. He gets caught up in quite a few things that doesn't necessarily go his way, and he is still out there trucking along, currently sitting 16th, 5/10 away from the leader, but running steady in a race like this is really going to help you in the long run. With 5 seconds almost left to go, this should be your qualifying grid order. So that will end Sean Ryan's attempt. He did improve by 100th, but not quite enough to even reach the 31s, which is kind of ridiculous. Just looking at that time, Jimmy Hayden reaching a 31-second lap time. That is insane.
And again, that was without the draft. I mean, that just shows the raw mechanical driving ability of Jimmy Hayden. I mean, he has dominated everything that we've done in Downshift. And I can't undersell that enough. Like, right? Like, he has done wonders in both the Street Stocks and the V Series. And once again, Jimmy Hayden on pole.
And it's well earned in that aspect. He has earned that pole position, rightfully so, against Sean Ryan, who couldn't necessarily quite get up there. But with the late start that he had, Sean Ryan still achieves that 2nd place spot as we go through the grid here. Jimmy Hayden with that 31.993 is your pole sitter. He'll get an extra point right there. Sean Ryan in 2nd place. He's going to be tight up against the bumper of that number 24. Cole Mycrick, Garrett Crawford getting up into the 4th place spot. Unexpected from that 69 car, but he's very happy there. And Caleb Clifton and Brian Voles in that 3rd row.
Andrew Sorzum in 7th place. We saw him qualifying right behind Cole Mycrick, at least drafting off him, unfortunately, a few spots behind Corey Abbott in the 8th place position. Paul Nelson in 9th. Hank Wilson, one of our newer drivers, in 10th. Coy McGrath, the superior brother, in 11th. And Andrew Hardcastle, the Downshift Esports livery car, currently in 12th.
Jacob Newman in that 00 coming into 13th place, just a little under half there. Chad Lancaster also sitting in 14th on the outside. Kenny McGrath fighting his way to try and get up to Coy, 4 places down in 15th. Jeff Biachamp also sitting in 16th. Brandon Ritchie, Arthur Clements as well, running on that outside of that 9th row.
Jason Heisey, the last driver to turn a lap in qualifying, a couple seconds behind Mr. Hayden. Randall Sheriff, one of our strong drivers in the Formula V series. Anderson in 21st, and Logan Kogar, who ran up in the front end of Charlotte, but unfortunately, due to an incident and bad pit strategy, fell behind.
He'll sit very last on the grid as he'll stay in the pits for the time being. We'll have to see if he does end up coming out, but right now we've got 1 lap of pacing. Brian, I want to hear what your prediction is for this race.
Jimmy Hayden likes to have an early start. That's what you watch for, and if he has a good start, that's going to be paralleled and echoed through everything that we see take place at Phoenix.
Yeah, it's always been an interesting start from both the 24 or the 9, whoever gets that lead, and so we'll have to see how they start off as the pace car will come off here in turn 4. Gonna be interesting just to see exactly who gets that start, but it looks like it's the 24 of Jimmy Hayden. He will start out and get the green flag for the last race of the Street Stock League season. It's green flag into turn 1, too wide everywhere, and safe travels as we go along this turn right here. Great stuff from these drivers so far, but try not to get too loose as it comes out of the exit right there. Sean Ryan pulling up, Cole Micret in third with Caleb Clifton in fourth.
Cole Micret really pressuring the bumper of that 9 car from behind. He does have help, as well as Caleb Clifton is trying to go for the push. And look who's actually up a few spots. That's Crawford in the 69 car, and Brian Voles is now actually starting to drop back a few of those positions. But really a strong run and a strong start to Jimmy Hayden as he's still maintaining that car width gap. And
they are still single file as they're going down the back stretch. Looking back here, Coy McGrath moved up 1 place right there. Chad Lancaster in that 02 has also moved 2 places up. So still single file, but look at Coy getting out there wide into turn 3, out of turn 4, but keeps his position for the time being. Drew, I wouldn't be concerned with Coy going on that high line if we go back over to Charlotte Motor Speedway as well as USA International. Coy just gravitated towards that high line. It really worked for him, and we saw that Coy was one of the drivers capable of winning Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was wrecked in the final lap of the track, or the final lap of that race. So if he continues to run that high line, he might be able to make it work again. It's just kind of the opportunity cost. Is it better to go the shorter distance or the longer radius? Yeah, we'll have to see. And Brian Voles down 1 place right now in 7th place as Andrew Storzum took his, but doing very well for the time being as he just sits in line right now. Looking down at that pit counter, Jet Biachamp early into the pits and out of this race possibly early on. Race Control didn't publish an incident, so maybe Jet Biachamp is trying to go for an alternate strategy, but pitting under green, you're most likely going to cycle in behind, or at least in front of Jimmy Hayden, and you're going to be jeopardizing yourself going a lap down early on. Now, it could work for you if we see extended cautions, because again, if we go back to USA International Speedway and even Charlotte, where we had over 8 cautions and 13 cautions in USA International Speedway, I mean, it could work. It's very atypical, but I think it's just maybe a potential issue on track. Absolutely. Looking at this 2 wide down here into 15th place is Daniel Anderson, as he is the most moving spot right now. 6 places up from 21st. If we look at the times our drivers are currently running, Jimmy Hayden just went their fastest lap, at least in this race, with a 32.01 and then a 32.04 for Sean Ryan. You can really start to see that draft working between our drivers as they're starting to pull away. That's the ultimate goal right now for Jimmy Hayden, Sean Ryan, and Cole Micret. You have to start to pull away from the shenanigans behind you. Absolutely, and they're trying as much as they can, but everyone has that draft when it comes to the single file line. Cole Micret in that 3rd place spot has a decent gap, now half a second away from Caleb Clifton. So it looks like the top 3 are getting a little bit of a groove right now, and it looks like we might have had a crash somewhere in the back as Randall Sheriff now jumps to the pits as well. I'm not quite sure what the strategy for both Jet and Randall are, but right now they are going to be they're going to have their race detrimented just a little bit with these green flag pit stops. Look at the 44 as well, getting alongside Hank Wilson in that 29. Side by side they go down the front straight. Coy just hit the wall. You talked about how there's a couple drivers currently in the pits. That's the thing with this track with such low banking. You might find yourself washing out a little bit too much. You might sideswipe the wall, mess up your toe in, mess up your steering angle. Absolutely. Do something to the car where we won't necessarily need race control to throw a caution, but the car won't be able to really roll at race speed, so those fast pits might be required. Currently, though, Coy, after making the mistake, the brush against the wall, is not in pits, currently running at 10th. Yeah, and we talked about exactly how little the banking is here in Phoenix. It's detrimental to get your drive correct, as looking at Andrew Storzum in that 16 goes down the inside of the number 69 of Garrett Crawford, battling, but Garrett Crawford gets the run on the outside. He'll keep the spot for the time being. He's trying not to lose yet another spot to this number 16 car, but he is at a disadvantage when it comes to these corners, Brian.
You could try to be Coy McGrath and run the outside, but you're 100% right, Drew. It is a disadvantage on the outside. Look at how slow that outside line is because Brian Rolls and that 44 car is now starting to pressure. And Brian Rolls is able to take that 6th place spot exactly where he qualified earlier.
And look at that number 29 who's just waiting in the wings. That's Hank Wilson trying to make sure that he gets an advantage if one of them gets ahead, and I think he's going to be trying to follow Brian Voles as that optimal line into the corner is going to be that short side, but the top side where the number 69 is right now is going to prove advantageous when it comes out to those exits.
Look at the difference between our first 3 drivers and 4th through 10th right now, Drew. The first 3 drivers are not fighting, they're in line, they're pushing, and they're drafting.
Oh my.
However, 4th and below, they're currently 3 wide, Drew. That is not helping your cause because the leaders are just pulling away. Caleb Clifton is driving very respectable lap times, a 32.11, but since he doesn't have a drafting partner, he doesn't have push from behind, he is literally just a sitting duck. There's a lot of air over his nose right now, and he has nobody to help break it.
Absolutely, and right now they are currently, Caleb being 1.5 seconds away from Cole Micret, who is that 3rd car in that front 3 pack, so they are dropping heavily right now as Andrew Storzum is right behind Caleb Clifton, who's also falling almost a second away from Caleb Clifton himself. Caleb is going to become an island of his own at some point, and I think Brian Voles has a lot of work to do if he's going to be able to try and get up to those top 5.
Coy receiving pressure from behind. That's a 32 of Paul Nelson, who's become quite a crowd favorite here, Drew. When we were on MLE over the past 2 weeks, I mean, everybody loved Mr. Nelson, and hopefully he's still getting that love right now in Twitch chat because he has a run right now on Coy. And, well, somewhat like Coy, the 15 car of Kenny McGrath, the spin master himself, finds themselves off track and into the grass. What a surprise.
And they are now into 16th place from, I think he was 10th even at one point. So he moved up quite a few places, but now has dropped down to where he qualified previously. Not going to be great for him, but what is great for somebody is Daniel Anderson sitting 8 places up at this point from his qualifying position.
The biggest mover right now, but we're really not seeing a lot of the field move spots. Actually, the only other driver that has moved more than 3 spots is Andrew Storzum all the way up in 4th. So this is showing me that most of our drivers are very comfortable with where they're running, Drew. And I mean, we're 15 laps in. It's a 100-lap race. You don't need to be making big movements right now. If you're able just to sit on track, start to go with your tire-saving strategy, your fuel-saving strategy, I mean, that is the ultimate goal here because we've yet to see a caution, and which is surprising in Downshift. So, I mean, just keep running your own line, keep running your own race, and hit your fuel numbers.
Might also help that we're currently at a 1-mile track as well, Brian. We're
at Charlotte, and we had 8, and that's a bigger track.
We did. That is 1.5 miles, as a lot of NASCAR drivers will be aware of that. But Paul Nelson getting sideways, losing it just a little bit on that exit. He will now drop beneath Coy and Andrew in terms of that battle. And Sean Ryan as well getting up there, up next to Jimmy Hayden. He'll take the lead just for the moment. Might have even gotten the lead of the lap. But right now, it's a battle for that top spot. And Cole Micret just waiting in the wings. This could even bring that second pack up to them, Brian.
The thing is, with Cole Micret, he has to decide which driver he wants to help and who he wants to push because both drivers, Jimmy Hayden and Sean Ryan, are sitting ducks in this position, as you mentioned.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just slow in this spot.
Oh, no!
Sean Ryan, a bit of oversteer, and Cole Micret ready to capitalize, and that one small driver error is going to allow Jimmy Hayden to still maintain that first-place position.
And that is definitely not what Sean Ryan wanted, but right now his tires are even heating up a bit as he goes wide in terms of that corner. He didn't stick it to the yellow line like we normally see these front runners do. He went up a little bit more and had to wait to push the gas even that much longer. Just that split second can make all the difference in terms of these tracks here on the oval side of things. But back down into 10th place right now, Andrew Hardcastle sits trying to take that 9th place spot from the number 2 of Coy, and Paul Nelson ever so slowly climbing his way back into that battle.
2 car lengths separate between the 20 and the 2 car, and the 32 now of Paul Nelson starting to close on Andrew Hardcastle. Start to push together, boys. Work together, guys. You want to start to catch the drivers in front of you because Coy is multiple seconds behind Hank Wilson in the 8th place position. And I know that Andrew wants to battle right now. He wants to push Coy. He wants to gain this track position.
Absolutely.
But look what they're doing. They're slowing themselves down.
Yeah, absolutely. You are right about that. And right now, they're battling, and it always takes time out of them. But look at Coy. Up into the wall he goes. He slides up into the wall. That will give Andrew Hardcastle and Paul Nelson his spot. He will drop down to 11th place as that number 2 car.
Drew, we're seeing a lot of cars have a lot of oversteer on the exit of these corners. That's telling me that the drivers are either not modulating the throttle enough, that they're coming on the throttle too quickly and too soon like they were if they had brand new sticker sets of tires, or the tires have really started to drop off and really start to degrade. I mean, look at the 88. That was Caleb Clifton. He had a big moment there as well. So
Absolutely.
It seems like it's just a culmination of issues too, because also the track temperature and ambient temperature is very cool. It's about 90 degrees track surface, and we said it was, 79 ambient?
Yeah, it's a little bit cool out here in the desert right now. And right now, I think a lot of people are trying to find that grip, which they are finding pretty much into those turns. As look at Brian Voles, that number 44, very good turns on the outside, and he'll have the momentum coming out of that second turn.
Brian attempts to get a little bit aggressive, squeezing the 69 car of Crawford, but the line that Brian elects actually is going to allow him to run the outside. A wonderful showing of racecraft from Brian, but he's
and
probably
here come the
lose it
pits.
Here.
Drivers are pitting right now. That's the top 3, Jimmy Hayden, Sean Ryan, and Cole Mykrit. Also, Coy McGrath, all sitting into the pits. This is going to be that first time around that they're going to get fuel, possibly tires. We might have an extended time for pit stops right now. I think I think that's going to be interesting. Daniel Anderson also into the pits. Chad Lancaster, Brandon Ritchie, all of them coming into the pits this time, as we have also the rest of the runners right now. One person stays out, and that is the number 20 of Andrew Hardcastle.
I mean, you may as well, if you're Andrew Hardcastle, lead a few laps, try to put a banger lap down, and after that, go into the pits and see if you've gained any positions. Because also, Drew, sometimes people forget when you have practically the entire field pit simultaneously, it gets, shall I call it, hectic?
I think that's a tame word for it, wouldn't you say? And look at that as well.
I was trying to be very nice because that pit lane, it's honestly kind of just like, it's discombobulated, right?
It is.
It is like a boiling pot of water because it's all over the place. You forgot your lid and you've soaked the entire kitchen.
Well, hopefully they don't do that here in these pits, but right now, Andrew Hardcastle still leading that lap. He's in the pits along with Corey Abbott, Jacob Newman as well. Sean Ryan, Jimmy Hayden, Cole Mykrit, though, that front pack sticks together. Cole might be even dropping just a tad bit right now. I don't doubt that he might get up there, as Jimmy Hayden does not want to sit behind Sean Ryan for this long. He wants to get past him and get past him fast.
With Sean Ryan leading in front of Jimmy Hayden currently in that 4th place spot, that means
and there he goes.
Sean Ryan had a better pit exit and a better pit strategy. And here's that pressure, the 24 car currently underneath the 9 of Ryan, but Jimmy Hayden unable to make it work going into turn 3, still on the back bumper though, and the pressure still being felt by Sean Ryan.
And that's a great move by Sean Ryan. He didn't pinch him. He didn't push him at all. He left enough space, but enough of a buffer as well to where he would be able to maximize that exit. And he got a great exit coming out of turn 2 right there to keep the lead at the moment. Coy McGrath getting past the number 20 of Andrew Hardcastle right now. That's a good battle. And there's another battle all the way down in 16th as well, as Kenny McGrath gets past Brandon Ritchie right there. Next, Jacob Newman for him.
a solid run on the straightaway for the 15. I believe he got around the 00 car. And look at this.
Boy.
Sean Ryan to the inside, washes out. Jimmy Hayden potentially wall millimeters away the outside line, now working for Jimmy Hayden, but entering into turn number 1, Sean Ryan's gonna have the better line, but it's a few wheels distance between our drivers, and Jimmy Hayden on the outside lane makes it work. To first position he goes.
And that was the strategy of that number 24 car to weaken his opponent, that number 9 car. He knew exactly what he was seeing earlier in this race. He knew what he was seeing in previous weeks before, previous seasons before even, with Sean Ryan taking on this track in particular. He knows that Sean Ryan is weak when it comes to those low lines and too wide. He gets loose, he gets wide, and he gets slow. And that is where Jimmy Hayden was able to capitalize.
Extremely well done. Now it's Brian Voles on Coy McGrath, too wide. And this is an excellent battle. Actually, we saw a little bit of banging of the doors, but
Absolutely.
What do you guys say in NASCAR? Rubbing is racing?
Absolutely. Except if you dump them, I would say. But we don't see that here.
We can't bring that one up, Drew. We've seen that at USA International and Charlotte, too. And you know what? Can we actually dive on the back bumper of Jimmy Hayden just to remind us what we saw in Week 8? Because I think there's a new Easter egg.
We
can't see that. There's an Easter egg there.
We might be able to see it just a little bit.
Of the 9 car?
Yeah, we can go on the onboard there, I think. We'll have to see exactly. But looking at how close that is, you can barely make it out, though. That red button right there on the back of that 24 car. And remind me what it says again.
It says
Brian?
Push to win. It says push to win.
Well, Sean Ryan might be taking that advantage here in a few laps' time. Currently 30 out of 100 as we go across the start-finish line next time by. So we are 3/10 of the way done, almost over a quarter, almost a third of the way done, Brian, and these guys are still battling neck and neck every lap. Even Jimmy Hayden slapping the wall just a tad right there as you saw some sparks flying. It's exciting right now, and I think there's a lot that we're seeing on track.
I'm surprised we're seeing Jimmy Hayden slide so much because their pit strategy took place on lap 22, which means that their forecasted next pit is going to be approximately lap, we'll say 42 to 45, depending on if we're going to see any type of yellow flags. And with Jimmy already starting to slide and already starting to brush that wall, I mean, that's not really showing longevity in the tires.
I don't think it's even Jimmy taking the hard hit here. It's the Sean Ryan of that number 9 car as Cole Micrit slides up into him just a little bit off of turn 1 and 2. But Sean Ryan is getting loose. That's what caused Cole Micrit to be able to attack him right there. He's getting loose ever so slightly, that number 9 car, and he's struggling right now. He might even fall out of the draft from that 24 as they are currently a third of a second away.
That's the problem. When you start to wash out, you start to have battles, a car into the wall. That's the 36 car of Anderson. He was up 5 positions, Drew, and well done to really keep that car undamaged because we don't need another yellow. I mean, our first yellow of the day. Well done from him.
Yeah, but that's going to come up into the leaders right there, as that might have helped Sean and Cole a little bit, I would have to say, since Jimmy had to take a wider line, something he's not necessarily used to, except when he's pinching that number 9 car on the low line.
You know, the 36 is going to be the first car going a lap down. We do have Heisey and Sheriff who are laps down, but that was because of incidences on track. This is the first time we're actually seeing somebody get passed as that lap down car. 69 of Crawford currently down 3 positions, and the 7th spot getting pressured from behind by Paul Nelson.
And there's another battle as well, that number 21 of Corey Abbott on the 02 of Chad Lancaster. A great slot into the high line right there, but the 02 is not done yet. He still wants that position. He'll take the high line going in. He slaps the wall just a tad bit. Can't quite get the speed when you get slapping the wall right there. So he'll fall back in line with that 21 car. But looking at that line too, he's kind of taken a short line. He's taken the shorter line in order to set up for the corner. And I think that might even pull him just a little bit farther away from that number 21.
No, another thing to mention, we talked about tire degradation, but
Absolutely.
what happens when those tires start to degrade? Well, you have marbles and you have debris start to form in the outside lane, and when that starts to take place, if you wash up at all, if you have understeer, the car just like snap oversteers and it puts you closer to that wall, all of a sudden you're going to lose traction as you start to run over those marbles. I mean, it's like driving on glass. The car just will not respond to any of your movement, and if it has directional movement towards the wall, it's probably going to find that wall.
Absolutely, and this battle right here as well, Caleb Clifton, that number 88, holding off that number 16 of Andrew Storzum. But right now, the number 2 car, Coy McGrath, into the back straight grass. He looks to have severe damage on the front of that car, Brian.
Oh, no. Coy's had a frustrating day so far today, Drew. I mean, he was running in a decent position in 10th place. And if we go back to week 9 Charlotte Motor Speedway, if we go back to week number 8 USA International Speedway, I mean, Coy had incredible lap times. He could have actually won Charlotte Motor Speedway. And even in the Formula V's, Coy's had some phenomenal performances. But the past, I guess, few incidences at Charlotte and now once again in Phoenix is going to be kind of a sore spot for Coy.
And he'll look to try and bounce back possibly next season, as we'll see where these drivers actually end up with all the leagues coming into play for the 2022 season. We'll talk about those later on, but right now, still battles happening everywhere right now. Hank Wilson holding off Crawford, who's holding off Paul Nelson, so lots of stuff happening there. That number 22 car, that's Brandon Ritchie. He is currently a lap down, if I recall correctly. I don't think it's more than a lap, but lots of battling right there as you try and get around lap cars as well. He's riding the wall. Paul Nelson able to get to the inside right there. Doesn't want to necessarily crash into him, so he holds off just a tad. But as well, look at how tight these front runners are. Just bumper to tail, ever so close. And it's just all about making that first move.
Whoa!
And there it is!
A big movement from Sean Ryan into the bumper of Jimmy Hayden. And there's a literal button there that says push to win. And Sean Ryan has activated it with 60 laps to go. It's a miracle that Jimmy Hayden didn't wash up fully into the marbles and take a big impact to that wall, because that could have been Jimmy Hayden's race lost right there. And if Jimmy Hayden DNFs, he most likely will not win the points championship, and the driver behind, Sean Ryan, could take it away.
Yeah, and Sean Ryan, what a bump on that number 24 car.
Push
you can
here
see
to
it
win.
right there. Yeah, he's trying to push it right there. As you can see, he goes down the inside. He's going to take that inside line, put his nose on that quarter panel. He's going to have the advantage just for a slight bit. Door to door they go, and Cole Micrid might be able to take advantage of this. Not quite, as that number 9 falls in line just a little bit more. Man, what a battle up here right now.
It looks like Sean Ryan is the better driver on old tires. As I was saying that, it seems like the car is starting to step away from him. He has that big motion of oversteer. I mean, that's the thing, right? We saw that pressure that he was doing, and then I think he was just starting to overdrive that car. He knew that he could run on time very quick, almost faster than Jimmy Hayden, and he was trying to get every single ounce of that race car that's left. The last time that we saw a pit strategy was back on lap 22, and that means we're starting to enter into that pit window.
Absolutely, and Sean Ryan might be even getting a little bit of a bump. No, number 3, that Cole Micrid going to go on that inside, put his bumper into the quarter panel right there, but he backs out. Now that loses time for both of them, though, up to Jimmy Hayden, as they are now half a second or more off. And I think Cole Micrid's had enough. He's seen Sean Ryan struggling right now. They're too wide down the front straight.
Our first set of pit strategies is taking place with Brandon Ritchie, who is a lap down, and he did pit back on, I think that was, he's pitted on lap 3, which put him kind of off the racing sequence.
Absolutely,
but
yep.
I think he's just trying to find, his way back, because he is only currently a lap down. So maybe he'll find his way, if a caution takes place, as one of the lucky dog drivers to regain that lap position.
Look at that,
and
the number
Sean
9
Ryan
car.
into the pits.
The undercut, says number 9 in that Sean Ryan. He's going to try and see if that undercut will work in terms of trying to get ahead of Jimmy Hayden and Cole Micrit. We'll have to see how his pit crew does, but no one else following him for the moment. He's going to be the first one to pull that trigger up on that lead lap.
Here's the thing, though, with Sean Ryan. He had no tires, and he was clearly struggling to drive that race car. This is a good read for him, but what does this mean for our strategy down the road? Will he have enough fuel? Because we have at least one more strategy.
Oh, Jimmy Hayden!
Into the pits has spun! Catastrophic! And the undercut from Mr.
And that's
Ryan
a caution.
and the 9 car.
That's the first caution of the race right now. Jimmy Hayden spinning on the entry into the pits. We are going to have to take a replay of that as soon as we can, but that also opens up a lot of chances for these lead lap drivers to be able to pit and not lose as much time as well, Brian. That could even help Jimmy Hayden and Cole Micrit possibly if Sean Ryan doesn't get around fast enough.
But here's the thing. Will we see Jimmy Hayden go a lap down? And is there damage to that race car? Because, again, there's 71 points separating Sean Ryan and Jimmy Hayden in the points championship. And if there is catastrophic damage to Jimmy Hayden's vehicle and it forces him to bow out or have an extended period in that pits, I mean, we could see a points championship that goes in favor of Sean Ryan.
Well, right now, look at that. The timer, 77 seconds. He is climbing on that right now. So, he is not looking good in terms of the timer. It looks like he has repairs that his pit crew is definitely going to have to repair right now. And that is the last thing that he wanted at that. So, looking at all the drivers now on the lead lap, they're going to be pitting, of course, on this yellow flag. Caution, the first one of the night. We'll have to take a replay really quick just to see what may have happened to Jimmy Hayden.
My guess is he just grabbed a little bit too much brakes, locked that race car up. He also has a little bit of momentum. Yeah, too fast. Oh, it's heartbreaking to see. Jimmy Hayden, the only time that I remember him making a mistake at all was week number 3 of the Formula V series.
This is on board.
Over, I can't remember which track it was. That's the only time I remember him making a single mistake. And if this is his second mistake of the season in 2 different series, you know what? I'm going to give him a pass. That's all I'm saying.
It's pretty impressive when you only make 2 mistakes in a season. But that mistake could very well cost him some points, possibly. Maybe not all the way down into the bottom points right there, but it could help Sean Ryan definitely out a little bit more, as right now Sean Ryan sitting 13th and Jimmy Hayden actually sitting behind him. So I will retract my statement for the time being. Cole Micrit even ahead of them. So this is interesting. Every one of these cars that pit on the caution lap, they keep their spots. Caleb Clifton leading the race with Andrew Storzum and Paul Nelson behind. This puts a massive amount of pressure on Cole Micrit, Sean Ryan, and Jimmy Hayden to get up to the front.
So how did the pit sequence work? How is Caleb Clifton in first place, and how is Sean Ryan in 13th?
Well, that's a great question. As we know, all of the top 3, Cole Micrit, Sean Ryan, and Jimmy Hayden, they all pit under green flag. So they were the ones who were going to lose out as everyone was going full speed. But when that caution threw out, Jimmy Hayden still had repairs to go. So they were all able to go under pace lap on all these lead cars. Caleb Clifton, Andrew Storzum, all the way down to Arthur Clements even into 12th place now as he gets past. He's currently in the pits, but all of them were able to pace at their own speed. They were so slow that they were able to keep their places, especially coming out of the pits. Sean Ryan and them were already a lap down by the time they were exiting the pits on that green flag pit stop. So that is how that happened. That's insane how all of this has happened so far. And it's only going to get more exciting as these guys are going to have to battle to get to the top spots yet again.
we've just let our field go around the pace car, and some of those drivers, Cole Microck, Sean Ryan, and Jimmy Hayden. Why is that so important? Well, Drew, pace car lights are out. We're going to see the pace car dive into the pit lane momentarily, and those drivers are nowhere to be seen.
And that's going to be very detrimental to their hopes of trying to get up there. Caleb Clifton has a great start. Can't quite get away from Andrew Storzum, though. No, he does. What a start from that 88 as he is gone into the first turn already. And Andrew Storzum having to battle Paul Nelson momentarily. What a start from that 88. And looking at all the cars, still too wide going into turn 2 into the back straight. These guys very respectful in those turns, but also wide enough that they're able to have that gap. And look at the 15 as well right there. Kenny McGrath getting up into 7th place.
Andrew Storzum just was caught napping on that green flag restart.
Absolutely.
I mean, we talked about how Jimmy Hayden likes to go with a fast restart like that. As soon as you have the opportunity to accelerate, you just instantly take that opportunity. I mean, Jimmy Hayden has made a masterclass of doing that throughout all 10 weeks here at Downshift. And it seems like Caleb Clifton, who has been behind Jimmy Hayden for many of those starts, has learned that lesson, currently up 7 car lengths over Andrew Storzum.
Absolutely, and there's a battle right here. Corey Abbott trying to fend off. Jacob Newman can't do it, and he'll have to worry about Andrew Hardcastle now right behind him. Don't look now, though. 2 places back, Jimmy Hayden and Sean Ryan battling in 12th and 13th. They still have a long way to go, and right now I think Sean Ryan's kind of thinking, well, this is going to be the most difficult part, trying to get around Jimmy Hayden while also trying to lead some laps. So I think they're going to look at probably teaming up just for the time being. However, they are also 2.5 seconds away from that number 3 of Cole Microck.
So I want to echo what you're saying. You have to start to team up. What is going on the front straight?
That is great question. So
multiple
many
cars too wide.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all occupying the same place. And again, we always joke that I have a degree in finance, not in physics. But will refresh me on some physics lessons, Drew. I don't think you can have multiple vehicles occupy the same space at the same time.
That's the thing. If you try to, you might get some results. You know, it's an experiment, as you know, scientific method. You have an experiment, you have a hypothesis, you have a result. These guys probably did not think about that experiment that they were going to get themselves into, but nevertheless, they come out unscathed for the time being. But look at this. It's almost four abreast just in terms of width for these guys. Not quite side by side as we go 2x2, the 00 on the inside of the 20. But Kenny McGrath leading that entire field 10 places up, as well as that number 15 into 5th place.
You know what? If you're Cole Microck, Jimmy Hayden, and Sean Ryan, currently in 11th through 13th, and you see the 5th place car of Kenny McGrath and everybody else behind starting to battle, I mean, very soon we are going to see Cole and that 3 car in the rear view mirror of some of these drivers.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. But there's even a battle up in the front pack right now. 16, Andrew Storzum leading this race right now, but Brian Voles and Caleb Clifton currently battling, and I think that number 44 might just fall in line as he notices that they're falling just a little bit behind of that number 16, so they want to keep in that draft, and I think that's a great call.
Yeah, push Caleb along right now. Make sure that he can challenge Andrew Storzum. And look how many laps it took Andrew to recatch Caleb Clifton after that really slow start.
It took so long in order to get up there and eventually passed him, as Andrew Storzum still leads. I think he's led probably 3 or 4 laps at this point, but a good battle back here as well. That 32 of Paul Nelson on the inside of the number 20 of Andrew Hardcastle. Andrew Hardcastle even going a little bit slow right there. I'm not sure if that's because of the marbles getting loose maybe, but still holds that outside line, and he'll have the momentum on that back straight.
Potentially going to go 3 wide on the back straight, but thankfully the 0-2 of Chad Lancaster elects to pull out of that, and because we see the 32 and the 20 car of Hardcastle and Nelson really fighting for position, and it just slows his field up. It seems like the talking point we've mentioned all day long, Drew. But I mean, look at this multi-car train. I mean, all 8, 9 of these drivers are literally turning into a rolling chicane as wheels are starting to bang 4 wide of the back straight, and the 0-0 currently into the grass.
And that was the number 20 who started all of that, Andrew Hardcastle. You saw how he went up into the marbles on that first and second turn. He was the one who got loose on the exit as well and door banged with that number 02 of Chad Lancaster. So that is what caused that right there, and I think he's struggling just a little bit to go too wide into those corners. So he's got to be very careful if he's going to survive these next 40 laps if he finds himself in another situation such as that.
Way too much battling taking place. I mean, it is looking like it is the final race of the season because these drivers, a lot of them aren't going to be winning the points championship. The only drivers capable of doing that currently are the 9 car of Sean Ryan and Jimmy Hayden, and that 24 car currently back in 12th and 13th position as they pressure behind one of our lapped cars of Arthur Clements in the 5.
And look at that, Cole Micret right now getting side by side to Chad Lancaster. You can see it though, down that back straight. The cars of Jimmy Hayden and Sean Ryan getting ever so closer in that rear view mirror of Cole Micret. What once was a 2.5 second gap has now dwindled to a 1.25 seconds left as he tries to get around the 0-2, but Chad Lancaster not letting him for the moment. That's going to be detrimental to that number 3. But look at that. Too wide. Kenny McGrath dropping to 7th place at the moment, fending off Andrew Hardcastle at this point as Hank Wilson gets past him along with Paul Nelson.
Drew, be prepared to start to see some pit strategy. The last time that we saw the pits be used was back in lap 45 under green and lap 46 under caution. Now, we did have about 3 or 4 rolling laps, so that might extend us to lap 70 for our pit window, but this is an opportunity for our drivers to start to get kind of cunning with our pit strategy. We're seeing our cars have about a longevity of 20 to 24 laps to run out of fuel. So if you pit on lap 70, that means you're going to have about a 6-lap window of your bingo window where you're not going to have fuel. So our drivers either need to start to run on fumes or start to come with some really creative strategies or pray that a yellow takes place.
And I think one of the biggest things that everyone might have been expecting, something that was common all season as well, Brian, you saw it, is cautions. But there has only been one this race, and I think that might have been unexpected for quite a few of these guys, especially Sean Ryan, Jimmy Hayden, who originally probably thought that there was going to be a lot of cautions, then had to adjust after there were none. So they would end up a lap down off of the green flag pit stop, and then Jimmy Hayden himself causes a caution. So I think it's just unexpected for a lot of these drivers that were currently green flag racing for so long, 3 wide even, almost into turn 1. That number 29 of Hank Wilson gets a little bit wide, and there's the number 20 of Andrew Hardcastle into the grass on that back stretch. He currently sits 13th place.
Hardcastle can merge safely without causing any incident. No wall hits for him, so he might be able to keep us under green, and in fact, he'll elect to go for a tow, so we will stay under green, Drew. It was looking dicey there, but again, going back to that pit lane strategy, I want to be Brian Voles right now, who's been sitting behind Storzum and Clifton the entire time.
And look at that!
Which means
Clifton.
He's had the best run.
Clifton gets the lead. Andrew Storzum, slow for whatever reason, might have even tapped the wall a little bit and had to slow up. Caleb Clifton now leading this race, and Brian Voles even got a taste of that as he moves up into second.
Andrew Hardcastle, the first driver to go into the pits for our 3rd pit stop of the day, and technically our 3rd green flag pit stop, depending on who you are, because again, last time that we saw the pits be used was lap 45 under green, and then lap 46 under yellow, so it's just depending on when you sequence yourself your pit lane strategy. But again, going back to our numbers, if 46 was your last time into the pits, we're looking at somewhere around lap 70 to run out of fuel for this stint, which again, with only 24 laps of fuel, that's going to put us in an awkward
Oh,
scenario
no.
when we go with 90 laps left.
And that's the number 15 of Kenny McGrath. He is very slow on that front stretch. He is not looking too good either. He might even have some tire troubles as he runs up into the wall, stopping on track. Is that going to cause a caution? We're not sure. Elects to tow, and I think for the very moment, that keeps us green flag racing.
Wow, we've been on the edge of a knife the entire time.
Absolutely.
With almost the yellow going out, and then the drivers are able to clear the incident relatively quickly. I mean, I think either our drivers have gotten really lucky or really unlucky with however you want to look at these yellows being thrown or the lack of yellows. Because again, if we go back to USA International Speedway, we had 13 of them. I mean, our longest stint under green was our final laps, and it was 22 laps of green flag racing.
Absolutely, and looking at that line of cars right there, you see Cole Micra leading that entire pack, and who's behind him? That's the number 24 of Jimmy Hayden, but Sean Ryan nowhere to be found behind him. He is currently a car, or 2 cars behind that number 24 car. That is not what Sean Ryan wants necessarily, and he might have a fight to get around that 00 of Jacob Newman if he's going to have any impact in terms of getting up there. And there he goes as well.
Ooh, very aggressive stance from Sean Ryan to almost dive bomb the inside of Jacob Newman. And here's that pit lane strategy we're talking about. Lap 71 is when it's taking place. Micra, Hayden, and Ryan currently into the pits. Our top 3 drivers in the points championship pitting earlier than Caleb Clifton, Brian Vols, and Andrew Storzum. Our first through third place drivers currently in the field.
And that's going to put them in an interesting predicament as well. This will not get them to the end of the race. They still have another 5 to 10 laps to work with after they are done with that pit stop. And looking at the O2, it looks like he is setting up for a pit stop, as well as the number 36 of Daniel Anderson, who is a couple laps down as well. So interesting stuff developing on this green lap pit stop. Caleb Clifton, Brian Vols, and Andrew Storzum, though, all 3 of them sitting in the front. Do they pit this time? It looks like they will as they dive under the yellow to set up for the pit lane.
So this means that Caleb Clifton, Brian Vols, and Andrew Storzum is going to have better tires and more fuel going into our final few laps. Honestly, it's going to be incredible to see if our cars are going to be able to survive that fuel window. Because again, if we're looking at it about 24 laps for a fuel stint, they are going to have maybe a difference of 1 or 2 laps of margin of error. That is not a lot of time. Like, that's not a lot of fuel. I mean, these cars are going to be on fumes, and I think they're really praying that a yellow flag comes out. That might be the only thing that keeps our drivers in this race, especially the drivers that pitted on lap 71 compared to lap 72 and 73.
The thing is, that doesn't even count that doesn't even count the fact that they still don't have, neither of them, or none of these guys, none of these drivers currently have enough fuel to make it to the end. So everyone's going to have to do yet another pit stop, and that's where the question comes in. What do you do in terms of that strategy? Do you undercut it? Do you wait until there's possibly another yellow flag? It's completely up to these drivers, and what we're going to see in these next few laps is going to determine what that call is and how this is going to play out. Right now, Caleb Clifton, Andrew Storzum, and Brian Vols, all 3 of them still leading in this race, as Corey Abbott is still in the pits. He'll more than likely get past coming around by, and there it is right there. Garrett Crawford as well, though, just a few seconds behind that pack, 3 seconds as he holds up Jimmy Hayden, and Jimmy Hayden's 6 seconds behind Garrett Crawford, so he's on an island, and no doubt that number 24 car is going to catch up to him in no time.
Honestly, I think the driver who's best off right now on the fuel standings is going to be Brian Vols, the 3rd place car, the 44 car. Right, he currently is behind Caleb Clifton and Andrew Storzum. And if he does his job right, he can just sit in the draft and allow the drivers in front of him to use more fuel to break the air. Same storyline can be used for Sean Ryan, currently behind the 3 car and the 24 car. If he can just sit back, relax, and allow the drivers in front of him to break that air, it might be a shootout between Ryan and Vols for that 1st place spot, especially if fuel becomes really light.
Absolutely, you're very correct in that. The draft does help, even if a little bit. Possibly could give them a lap or two more, and if we see a caution, there's no question that these guys will dive into the pits and probably extend it even outside of that pit window of the 20 to 24 laps. But as we're going to cross the line here soon, we're looking down at the 10th place spot, Corey Abbott, with Paul Nelson behind him, a battle right there, and Jacob Newman ahead. But as we go across the line yet again, this time by, that pit window is going to open up. Anyone who pits this time around, they will have enough fuel to end the race, and we'll see if anyone bites it very early or if they'll run until either mid to late stint right now and maybe even take just a little bit less fuel to ride the line as they would usually do. So we'll have to see. The number 21, though, trying to make a move on that 00, can't quite make anything happen in terms of that. Don't look now, though. Garrett Crawford actually 5 seconds ahead from that three-pack of Jimmy, Sean, and Cole, and that's looking good for that number 69 car.
I think it's time to talk about alternative strategies to save fuel. One of those ways is if you have a braking marker, deaccelerate the race car sooner, which what you're going to do is you're going to lift off the throttle and you're going to have that car kind of naturally coast. So you're still trying to enter in with the same cornering speed, but your rate of deacceleration is going to change. You want to make sure that these big, small block V8s, they're not burning fuel during those durations. Also, if you're behind a car, maybe just lift just a bit. And again, you'll keep your spot right behind that car. You won't be gaining, you won't be falling behind. But again, you have to be really thinking about your fuel window. I mean, it's time to start to analyze some of the best drivers like Alexander Rossi and IndyCar.
Absolutely.
Who else is good at car who's just made a career, saving fuel? I mean, Alexander Rossi won a 500 off fuel.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, him as well as Elio Castroneves, Will Power, all of those famous names coming out of the IndyCar scene who are just so good when it comes to driving those open wheelers. And these guys are going to have to learn the trick of the trade when it comes to fuel saving. Look at Corey Abbott down the inside, gets past that 02 of Chad Lancaster. He's making places. He now gets back up to where he qualified previously, and Paul Nelson now diving down on the 00 of Jacob Newman. He's going to look down the inside, gets a little bit squirrely in the middle of that turn, but he will more than likely just file back in line for the time being. And right now, Brian, I'm kind of interested. 20 laps to go at this time. I got to know who you're calling. Who are you calling to win this race? I'm kind of just curious. This has been back and forth, wild in terms of just pits as well as racing, and I think anything could happen at this point, but I want to know what you think.
I got to go with Brian Bowles on this. Mr. Bad Luck Brian over there, I mean, I think it's time for his redemption arc, and I also think he's just in the best position fuel-wise. He was one of the latter drivers to pit, and, I mean, he's also behind two other very fast drivers, especially Caleb Clifton, who's been just air blocking for Storzum and Brian the entire time. So if we're going purely on fuel, I think Brian has it in the back.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it's tough to call. It's really tough to call, and I think personally, if I were to come up with a winner, I think I'm going to go with the lone shark out there, and that of Garrett Crawford, that number 69, currently just on an island of his own. But needless to say, we have a caution, and I think that might have been caused by the number 3 of Cole Micret. That will significantly change his race as well as every other.
We might find ourselves in a scenario, Drew, where our cars could actually go the entire distance on their fuel window. Depending on how many caution laps we have, it is going to be very, very tight. And you know what? If you have some of these advanced sim rigs where you can conveniently turn on and off your car, bump start that car with that clutch, now it's an opportunity to really save fuel.
Absolutely, and we're looking at this. It's the number 22. And that of Brandon Ritchie getting into the side of the number 3 car. More than likely, Cole is not going to be happy with a lapped car sliding into him right there. So that's very, very unfortunate in that. However, he doesn't lose his position. The caution comes out, so he'll have the ability to catch up to the drivers that he was racing. The other thing about it is if he has any damage, that could very well hinder how he performs. We'll have to see if everyone dives into the pits, and it does look like a lot of drivers are diving into the pits. We'll see if anyone takes a little bit less fuel or a little bit more fuel, and that could change the entire race. Right now, Clifton, still your leader, Storzum, Vols, all of those guys. Jimmy Hayden will take the lead for the time being as he goes into his pit box. We'll have to see where everybody comes out at the end of this pit lap right here. Everyone getting into their pit box, but Cole Micro misses his pit box. He will not be able to get out very quickly. We'll have to see. It looks like a few people are taking tires as well. Jimmy Hayden doesn't look to be one of those. There it is, Caleb Clifton, Brian Vols. It looks like Garrett Crawford even got into that mix. Corey Abbott, all of them ahead of Jimmy Hayden. Sean Ryan and Cole Micro even still in his pit box as well.
A race off pit lane won by Crawford, really up a spot. I mean, that's a very important place to be. I mean, I'm actually surprised that we saw our drivers pit. I think they just started to feel the pressure, though, that window. And, you know what, I think taking tires is the right idea as well for a couple of reasons.
Absolutely.
We've been seeing these tires start to drop off. They start to degrade around, like, lap 13, and then they just become undrivable. If we go back to Kenny McGrath with Sean Ryan when they had those big oversteer moments, I mean, the car was starting to get a little bit unwieldy. And now you're going to have enough tires to go the entire distance of the race and a comfortable amount of fuel as well.
Absolutely, and Cole Micro, 8 places down from his qualifying position, now sitting 11th place, is going to have to get through 3 different cars in order to get up to Sean Ryan, who he was racing with earlier. But as well, Sean Ryan, Jimmy Hayden, they will be bumper to tail coming the restart as we go 2 wide. Currently a car in between them, that's Jacob Newman, but 2 wide, that could very much help Sean Ryan in terms of a start. And Jimmy Hayden as well is going to be on that inside line of row 3 on the restart as he sits 5th place. That could hinder Garrett Crawford and Caleb Clifton, who are going to be starting in front of him.
With 15 laps left in the race, the worst I think Jimmy Hayden could currently finish is going to be 16. I think Jimmy Hayden has just won the championship.
If by calculation, I think he has. I think he has.
I'm fairly confident he has.
And Sean Ryan has not led the most laps, in which he definitely needed. So, by all of that, I think Jimmy Hayden will lock himself into yet another championship for Downshift Esports. We'll have to take a look later on when this race ends. But the pace car, the lights are off. Jimmy Hayden sitting in that 3rd row. Sean Ryan just behind him. This is going to be the start for the ages as Caleb Clifton has that start. Brian Vols on that outside. He's going to have to react so well if he's going to be able to have any chance of catching Caleb Clifton, as the pace car will go this time by into the pits. And there they go. 88 starting off the line here, just bunches up a little bit, waits for the green flag. That's an interesting strategy from the 88, but it works very well as he gets away even from Crawford, who's in that 3rd place spot. 3 wide going into turn 1 as Jimmy Hayden makes it work. Sean Ryan down the inside of the 69 as well. He'll take 4th place almost as Jimmy Hayden 2 wide with Corey Abbott. He'll be trying to take that 3rd place spot and 13 laps to go. He'll manage it and catch up to Brian Vols and Caleb Clifton. We'll have to see.
The delayed start really costed that middle row. Abbott and Crawford falling positions. Actually looked like Sean Ryan was delayed from that as well, but he was able to negotiate those first few corners relatively well. And now it's Jimmy Hayden and Sean Ryan and 3rd and 4th place spots starting to gain on the back bumper of Brian Vols. Brian has put on a masterful race today. This has probably been his best drive so far, and the 16 and 32 cars well up into the marbles as they go 3 wide to the front stretch.
And look at Cole Micro trying to get past. There's nowhere for him to go, as we saw that Jimmy Hayden just now posting the fastest lap of the race with a 31.88. 11 laps to go. He sits only 0.2 of a second behind Brian Voles. He's gonna be there. He's got the draft. What is it gonna take for him to go down there? He dives a little bit down there to get some speed on the exit. He's a little sideways, but will not pass Brian Voles this time. He might look to do it in turn 1.
Only a small distance between the 44 and the 24 cars. Jimmy Hayden, a good run, but Brian is even better on the defense. He's just maintaining that line, making that race car as wide as possible.
On the outside.
And now Jimmy Hayden has decided that the inside line is not good enough. Hayden to the outside, and it's still Brian Voles, the better line, the better defense, and Jimmy Hayden forced to slot back in lines, but still actually doing a wonderful job of maintaining the outside lane, and he might be able to get around Brian Voles. This is an incredible race from Jimmy Hayden.
Absolutely an incredible move as well. You saw Brian Voles even just touch the apron there down below the yellow lines ever so slightly on the exit of turn 4. That slowed him just that much more so that number 24 could take that position, get the better launch on the outside, and even doing it here again. Jimmy Hayden's so far up there on the high line. Brian Voles just sticking it all the way down. He has room, especially to get the momentum, but there's still too wide going into turn 1. This is an incredible battle right here.
The pressure Brian Voles is feeling just will not stop, and even if Jimmy Hayden is able to get around Brian Voles, which he will, there's another shark in the pool. It is Sean Ryan, who just saw the success of Jimmy Hayden on the outside, so Sean Ryan now wants a piece of the Brian Voles action. But with the outside lane being elected by Sean Ryan, Crawford now wants the inside lane.
Yeah, that number 69 car also lurking in the wings to try and maybe catch up, but Brian Voles is not giving up on that 24 car. They are not making any sort of progress on Caleb Clifton, who is 6/10 away. But now Jimmy Hayden gets a little bit away from Brian Voles. Might not have to worry about it for the time being. 6 laps to go when we cross the start-finish line.
Caleb Clifton is loving the fight that he sees in his mirrors. Every single second that Jimmy Hayden has to defend Brian Voles, or Brian Voles has to defend Sean Ryan, that only makes the cause of Caleb Clifton that much more likely as a victory, because he is just eating it up, and he's still pulling away from Jimmy Hayden, who now just has to put his head down and drive.
And now that interval now is down to 0.4 of a second. Something happened with Caleb Clifton. He is now slow. He's down on the apron almost. He's lost a little bit of momentum, and now Jimmy Hayden has a chance to run up on him with 5 laps to go. This is turning into a very close battle. Caleb Clifton is going to have to do a ton of defensive maneuvers in order to keep Jimmy Hayden at bay.
Jimmy Hayden has been one of the best drivers in this scenario all season long. Doesn't matter if he's in a street stock or a Formula V. His ability to pressure a driver from behind has been incredible. And here is that pressure. The shark is in the pool, and Caleb Clifton, he is starting to sweat as Jimmy Hayden, a run on the front straightaway, but not going to be elected. Oh! He actually overslows the car, and Brian Voles has potential to go around on the inside.
Not quite there. He wanted the nose down the inside, but he couldn't put it there. Just not a big enough gap to that apron. So Jimmy Hayden will go down the inside right now. Nose to the tail. Not quite there. He slides up just a little bit. The 88 gets sideways almost. Gets loose. And Jimmy Hayden now has the momentum on the front straight. 3 laps to go. Going across the start-finish line, Jimmy Hayden's got the advantage.
And it's a train around Caleb Clifton as he swipes Brian Voles. Caleb Clifton into the wall. Brian Voles is spinning. Sean Ryan able to negotiate it. It's a catastrophe. We've been talking about how little cautions there were, but now with 3 laps remaining, Brian Voles, bad luck Brian, falls. One of his best runs. No mistake made by Brian, but Caleb Clifton, a little oopsie on his part. Brian, I'm sure, is angry with that one.
Unbelievable battle we were seeing, but that was such a tremendously aggressive move from that 88 to try and undercut and do a switch with that number 44 on the inside. That's something I've never seen before be attempted, and if he pulled it off, it was going to be fantastic. But that was not the case there. We'll try and take a replay, just a little bit of what happened right there as the 88 tried to go underneath after switching with Jimmy Hayden. That is tremendous thinking to try and do that, but it just wasn't able to be pulled off.
Oh, heartbreaking. Heartbreaking to see. I mean, there was a lot going on, and then Brian, I don't know if he put his nose in a position that it shouldn't have been. I mean, especially with 3 laps left. I mean, you're fighting for position, you're battling the hardest that you can, and yeah, I mean, it was just an unfortunate scenario all around.
Very unfortunate as we're looking at that. It's just ever so slightly that it happens. Looking at it, Caleb Clifton trying to make what he can work, and he just cuts it too far, even collecting Sean Ryan. That is going to be just very unfortunate and something that they're not going to be happy with. However, this does lead into our first green-white checkered GWC of the night, as well as we see the number 88 possibly into the pits for the remainder of this race.
Jacob Newman is currently in 5th place. The 00 car up 8 positions right now. Jacob Newman, who has become quite a crowd favorite and almost an enigma here in Downshift, is in a perfect position. What happens? The 00 moves past Andrew Storsum, the 16 car in 4th place, and Crawford in 3rd place. I mean, it could be a Newman podium finish.
It could. It very well could. He's got to get through Andrew Storsum and Garrett Crawford for that. But look at who's been up at the top 2 now coming to this GWC, and that's Jimmy Hayden and Sean Ryan, 2 people who have just been battling for so long over the course of this race. It now comes down to 3 laps. And what's going to happen? That's the question everyone wants to see get answered.
As they run right now, Jimmy Hayden will win the points championship, and it doesn't matter if Sean Ryan wins in 1st place and Jimmy Hayden crashes out. Jimmy Hayden has just confirmed their championship, and to make that storyline even better is the fact that the 4 wins that Jimmy Hayden has in the Street Stock League, it's not good enough for him. The championship isn't good enough for him. He wants a 6th win this season.
Absolutely. He wants Phoenix. We've alluded to it in the pre-race show, how he loves this track, how he can't get away from it at times. He wants this track to be multiple times on the calendar, as we've heard him say before. He loves it. He knows he's good at it, and he wants the win here today, especially when he's practiced for so hard, so long on this track in order to beat Sean Ryan specifically. With this restart as well, it's going to be so crucial for either of them to get a momentum, and I think Jimmy's got the advantage right now. Pace car lights are off. Look at Jimmy Hayden kind of squeezing that number 9 as he's done in previous races up to that top spot. Pace car is off. Jimmy Hayden off to the races. Not quite the jump that he usually gets. Sean Ryan's going to be able to stick with him. 2 laps to go, Brian. Anyone's race at this point. We'll have to see who comes out on top.
Well, you heard me say, on our last lap of yellow, because I was concerned what on earth is going on when we saw those 2 drivers, Jimmy Hayden and the 9 car, banging wheels with each other. I think that is just showing what is to come. If they're willing to bang wheels under yellow, they most certainly are willing to bang wheels going into the final lap. The white flag waves, and we're going to confirm to see the checkered flag in exactly a mile.
Next flag wins it all, ends the race. This is it. Final lap, Sean Ryan, just 0.2 of a second off of Jimmy Hayden. He's got one last chance to make a move on the number 24. He's going to make one. Can't quite make one. He's got to defend from Andrew Storsum. But the 24 of Jimmy Hayden, for so hard, so long, fighting back to the top. Jimmy Hayden wins the last race of the season in the Street Stock League, and what a great battle it was!
Jimmy Hayden gets crowned the champion in season number 1 of Downshift Esports. It has been nothing but Jimmy Hayden, Drew, from week number 1, week number 2, the first 2 weeks of the season, victories underneath Jimmy Hayden. Week number 4, week number 7, and then now once again here in week 10, Jimmy Hayden will be able to win not only the race, but find themselves crowned the champion. I mean, incredible run from Jimmy Hayden. The consistency that he's put down, the lap times that he's put down, I mean, it has been just incredible to watch him drive. And the drifting that you see in the background is just well-deserved.
Nicknamed the Drift King throughout Downshift Esports. He's showing his talent. A double champion here in 2021 for Jimmy Hayden. And needless to say, it was well-deserved, well-earned, and congrats to Jimmy Hayden on that. We'll have to take a look at the unofficial point standings here in just a second, but I mean, what a race overall, Brian. I mean, is this what you would have expected coming into this race, just watching what we just witnessed here today?
It was exactly what I wanted. I'll put it that way, Drew.
Absolutely.
I mean, we had incredible racing. We had an incredible pit strategy. Let's go back to the pit lane strategy we saw between lap 45 and 46, where it was green flag racing, and then it was yellow flag pit strategy, and we saw drivers like Jimmy Hayden, Sean Ryan get shuffled towards the back end of the field, and it looked like it could have been Caleb Clifton and Brian Voll's day to win this race, but it came down to a lap 3 incident. I mean, it was just incredible all around. I mean, it was a perfect way to finish the season.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, as we'll take a look at the results from today's race. And, you know, I called my boy Garrett out. He couldn't quite pull it off. He stood 4th place. Jimmy Hayden, though, off of that last caution, able to pull it off and win it all here in Phoenix. He's your winner of the Street Stock Race Week 10 here in the 2021 season. 10 cars on the lead lap, as Corey Abbott's 2 laps down from that incident that we saw earlier. But just looking at this finishing order, what a tremendous race that we saw come from all of these guys.
What about Andrew Storzum, the 16 car in 3rd place, and the 69 car of Crawford in 4th place? I don't think those drivers have gotten enough love yet, Drew. I mean,
absolutely,
what a brilliant run from them. Like, if this was not week 10, I think we'd be hyping up their incredible performance. But, like, it's, you know, when it's Jimmy Hayden, who was just dominating the entire season, I mean, even the beautiful run of Crawford and Storzum, I mean, it's hard not to shed extra light, though, on Jimmy Hayden.
He is our double champion. He's the one who has made all the magic happen for him this season. It's hard to kind of overshadow him and, not talk about him. He has been someone who's just been in and out throughout this entire season in both leagues. Just tremendous performances overall, as we'll take a look at the unofficial point standings. As you see it, though, Jimmy Hayden with that win definitely, absolutely secures his championship. He is your champion for the Street Stock League here in the 21 season. Sean Ryan, ever so close. He had definite really good races throughout this season. No wins, but was consistently in that top 5 except for a couple of races, which I think did him in.
What about Cole right behind Sean Ryan? I mean, that is the definition of consistency, where Cole
absolutely
never won a race. Same thing with Sean Ryan. And yet they find themselves the sharp end of the points championship. I mean, Jimmy Hayden wins 5 races, and Sean Ryan has 419 points compared to the 454 points. I mean, that is incredible. I mean, that just shows you how good those drivers were. And same thing with Cole. I mean, never winning a race and you're still that close to Jimmy Hayden. I mean, brilliant performance.
Absolutely. I think every driver has really shown their performances. I mean, every driver just in general here in the Street Stock League deserves kudos, and I want everyone, even if you're not listening to us, I want you to pat your back anyway, in terms of the drivers, because every single one of these drivers made a tremendous performance just throughout the season overall, and we're so glad to see how it ended here today. We'll be right back with some driver interviews. Welcome back to the Downshift Esports Street Stock League Week 10 race. We just finished a race here at Charlotte, Brian, and I have to say, it was more than what I expected, but that's a good thing to say, and I think we've got a few drivers if you want to introduce those as well.
We got a million drivers, but the most important driver is Max Verstappen. I'm sorry, Jimmy Hayden is here. And company. I think we have
Jimmy Hayden and company.
We have what? Who just joined? I heard audio of somebody joining. I don't know who's here at this point, man. There's a million drivers. We're doing something different. We're having an open interview, and normally it's not as structured. Again, everybody's here. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
It's Phoenix, Charlotte, by the way.
There's Phoenix, yes, we were at Phoenix, but I mean, if you want to, sure, but that's why you stay on the roadside, right, Brian? Anyway, I mean, I kind of want to just start with Cole. I'm kind of interested, man. You were really hacking at the places right there, and I think you were making some good time up until a little bit of door banging happened. I mean, were you expecting to be running as well as you did? Because I think, just from my perspective, you were in the running to win the entire thing even.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect to be running as hot as I was. But, you know, towards that middle run there, getting that bad caution, I'm going a lap down, barely got my lap back to the pace car, and I was like, you're 6 seconds to the pack. Ain't no way, I'm stuck back here until Jimmy and Sean catch up, and then we'll push and maybe get to the pack. And I showed up at the pack, and they're still not there, so I just kept slicing and dicing and opening holes, and it just worked out for me. I mean, I do a lot of racing in the Xfinity cars, and a lot of it is controlling a slide and being able to drive a very loose car, and this is a very loose car here at Phoenix. So, you know, I'll attribute it to that. Maybe it was just dumb luck, which is probably more likely, but we'll go with that.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say dumb luck, right, Brian?
There's no luck involved. I mean, you guys are just incredible. Now, Drew, I know you are going with, the traditional interview method where you ask
I was just asking questions.
Well, here's the thing, though, Drew. I'm going to be a rebel since we're having fun for week number 10. I'm going to ask the group, and they can all talk at once. Can you guys shed light on your fuel strategy? Because, that was just incredible, especially, your second fuel stint going into lap 45 and 46. So, what on earth happened there?
I just Jimmy.
When you say it, they all talk at once.
Yes, the chaos. This is what I
wanted. I just ran the car until it was empty and pitted, and because I know if I pitted early and a caution came out, I'd be screwed. So I basically just ran as long as I could, till I couldn't do any more laps. Got fuel, and we only had 2 extra sets of tires, so that was interesting. That second stint, we were all fighting burnt off right rear, so that made it a little interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
It was really fun running behind them on their burnt right rears because I was saving hard behind them. So I almost beat Sean in the wall a couple times, but it's okay. He deserves it.
I got lucky in all of mine. There was a wreck right in front of me right before I was about to pit the first time, and the second time, I was running with the lead pack, and I tried to pit a lap before him to see if I could get a little time, but it was pretty easy with the fuel this time.
The fuel, I felt, was not easy. It was just barely on the edge of that 24 laps kind of range, so you had to do that. You had to do a 5th stop kind of, or you could save enough to kind of send it at the end with 0.1 laps. You got to cross the finish line. But I felt the tires were worse. The 2 extra sets, I was fighting. I did 50 laps on the first set and then tried to split it up, but I was just saving the first 50 laps.
Fuel empty, get gas.
Fuel empty, get gas. Brilliant statement. Thank you, Brian.
Pretty much. As a mechanic, that's hard on your fuel pump, know.
Take notes, right? Take notes. Take notes.
Whoa, race control's here now too, Ben. You want to talk about those yellows that you threw?
Oh, my
man.
goodness.
Oh, one of them.
Jimmy Hayden loves you for the yellow flags today.
Oh man. Well, it's really tough because when you've got a car sitting in the middle of the track, you have to kind of make the decision. And the yellows that I didn't throw, the cars were off a track in the grass, you know, kind of further away. But when Cole's number 3 machine was backed into the fence coming out of 4, I mean, go back to practice or qualifying, you're watching these cars spin out in that corner with nobody to help or encourage them to do so. Now there's a car sitting in the middle of it. I figured I probably should do that. Give that a call and see, because he's got a whole straightaway to get up to speed too. So it was just a call I made. I don't know if it was a great one, but it's what we went with.
So, Jen, in the line of cautions, were you actually expecting cautions today? Because we only had, what, 3 or 4?
I think we had 3. Total.
Compared to caution bonanza in week 8? Or were you guys expecting everybody to, well, crash?
I was expecting cautions.
And last year at Phoenix, there was 9 of us on the track, and we had 8 cautions.
How does one do that, Cole? How do you have 9 cars on track and 8 cautions?
Kenneth McGrath.
Hey, he was on a chicane today. Shout out to Kitty over there.
He was a year ago.
He was.
Oh man, but yeah, some great stuff, guys. I kind of want to go down the line and just see if anyone has any final words.
No, you're supposed to have chaos questions. Drew, you're doing it wrong. It's the chaos interview, the Rumble interview.
Well, we did have that. You all had them talking at once, Brian. I think
I'm trying to initiate that again. Don't worry, Drew.
Well, you succeeded, I think, but I'm still burning up over here in this booth right now. I'm ginger, all right, so I can't, so I burn easily. But I want to see if everyone has any final words. Brian, starting with you, Brian Vols.
It was a good season. That's pretty much it. Probably better that way.
Fair enough.
Right to the point.
Fair
Good
enough.
season, get gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Cole Micrit.
Yep.
Understood.
Bring it back around. Bring it back around.
Understood.
Contest for the shortest interview possible. Whoever can say the least amount of words wins. And I think Cole's winning it.
Well, Garrett Crawford's up next. We'll see if he has any words to say.
He's just gonna say yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Jacob Newman.
Yeah, I'm not like them. I actually thought it was a good season. I didn't qualify as well as I would try to, but during the race I just got lucky and usually ended up in top 10. But it was good racing with everyone else out there.
Awesome
Well said, Ben.
stuff. Yeah, awesome stuff. Glad to always have you as well. And then last but definitely not least, our Street Stock League champion for 2021, Jimmy Hayden. Do you have any last words for us?
Yeah, I mean, first I got to shout you guys out. You guys put on a great show all season. Between Ben and the race control and you guys putting on the show. I gotta shout out everybody. Cole, Sean, Brian, and all you guys. I can't name all you guys, but
you can try if you want to.
But definitely at least Cole and Sean today for racing me hard and clean. It's been a rough couple weeks for me, losing it in the last lap 2 weeks in a row. I don't know if you guys saw, I put a big red button on the rear of the car.
We did see
we
that.
talked about it.
Yeah,
I really wanted to press
it says
it.
push here to win. So
Yeah, he pushed it against the inside pit wall, and he won.
but no,
so.
I gotta really got shout out Sean and Cole for racing me really hard, but also not pushing the envelope too far. This track was hard to pass on, so I know it's you start to run out of patience. You just gotta get creative here and there, but all in all, excited for next season. Not sure what I'm going to be running it. I got a lot of options, but yeah.
Awesome stuff, guys. Well, thank you so much for just being a part of this season. Oh,
Real quick, I got a question for our casters.
What's up?
Go for it.
What was your favorite wreck of the season?
Oh,
Oh,
A lot of those.
oh, favorite wreck of the
I'm sorry,
season?
Jimmy Hayden. I think it was your Week 8 crash where we saw Tomasi win. That was just incredible from a casting booth. I know it's frustrating for you, but like if we're talking about like purely like analytical broadcast like content, that's like A1 content.
Oh no, I mean that was all my fault. That one,
Dude,
made
it was because he didn't have the button there. He saw in the future that there would be a button in the back of your car, and he tried to use it, Jimmy, but he was 2 weeks early.
No, my problem was that I made the mistake of trying to drag race him to the finish and like kind of taking a wider line 3 and 4. What I should have done, and is I should have just let him by and given it to him and given it right back to him in turn 3. But I was trying to, I figured I'd get a run off of 4 or whatever, but didn't happen. He didn't wreck me, which is fine. I still finished the race second. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, last week was a mess, but we're past that.
Well, thank you guys so much, every one of you guys, for being a part of the Street Stock League season. Some of you are going to be showing back up here Thursday for the Formula V League, and we're going to be excited to see you guys run that. But in particular, Jimmy Hayden, Cole Meiker, Garrett Crawford, Brian Voles, and Jacob Newman all in the booth today for the driver interviews. Thank you guys so much. So glad to have you in the Street Stock
Thanks for having
League,
us.
and we're looking forward to seeing you next season.
Thank you guys. Appreciate all you
Love
do.
you.
Thank you.
I love you more.
Love, guys, much love.
Love
Victor's
all
my
of you
favorite
guys.
son.
Wait.
Love all of you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the Street Stock League this season. And I think we actually have a few words just in general from our race controller, in that of Ben Ruprecht. I mean, Ben, it's been an insane debut season, and just behind the controls, you've been working so hard throughout the entire 3 or 4 months that we've been running this season so far. So I kind of wanted to get a perspective of what the season was like for you behind the scenes.
Well, Drew, and I thought about this because I knew you were coming to me to ask this, and to put a summary, it kind of blows my mind, and I guess I'll try to keep it not emotional. But when we're running our league last season, when we were under a different brand, we would show up to racetracks and everything, and I remember having pre-race conversations with you about whether or not we even wanted to stream the race, because we didn't know if we'd have enough drivers to put on a show. You got 5 or 6 cars showing up one race and everything, and then to turn around and have what we have here. I mean, it's race controlling is just one part of it, but I mean, we're building a community is ultimately what we're doing, and these guys, you just brought in Jake and Brian and Jimmy and Cole and Garrett and a bunch of other guys out there, that make this happen. I mean, you got to have cars on the track to fill a field, and I'm sitting there kind of reminiscent in the middle of this race as I'm watching, the remaining, I think, 20 or 21 cars on the track, 80 laps into a 100-lap race, which is absolutely just effing awesome. And I'm watching it. Everybody's fighting somebody. There's no car by themselves. You've got the 29 cars fighting with the 32, and you've got Jimmy and Sean fighting. Andrew Storzum, Garrett, and Brian Voles and Caleb were all fighting at one point and everything. And I really think we are doing something correct here, because everyone seems to be having fun. I hope you guys are having fun up here in the booth. It sure is fun to watch it back. So I'm just really blessed to know that we're finding all of these wonderful individuals out here on the service, and I am truly having a great time. There's frustrations, sure, just like everything, but at the end of the day, everyone kind of comes together and realizes we're here to learn, and we're here to have fun, and we're here to get better, and we're doing that. I mean, this is another great week for it, so couldn't be happier. And 2022, bring it on. Let's do this.
Absolutely.
I mean, guys, I love the community that you've built here. I mean, it's been incredible, and I've had a blast on the broadcast booth. So, I mean, I mean, Ben, you've been technically around the entire time for the street stocks. You've been doing all the yellow flags, all the craziness, and maybe getting some flack here and there, which is completely not deserved. I mean, you have probably the hardest job out of any jobs here in Downshift, especially for the street stocks. I mean, it is pure chaos at some times. So with that being said, what is your
Understatement of the
favorite
century.
memory this season?
Oh gosh, what is my favorite memory? That's a tough one, man. I've got a lot of them. I think.
We list them all.
You know.
I'm here all night.
Well, I was thinking back and I giggle about the All-Star race. That was for starters. That was freaking hilarious.
That was
watching Formula
incredible.
V's and
That
stuff.
was a great
awesome.
memory.
Try to run the race at the same time. You know, just having conversations post race after 14 or 15 caution Langley. That was always a fun time. But you just look back on it, you just kind of laugh, because it is what it is. But it's so fun. Just the utter chaos of some of these close finishes and stuff too. I mean, I really enjoyed the racing that we saw earlier in the season, specifically at Charlotte here. We had a barn burner, and then where we come back, ending up at Phoenix at the end of the season, and even this race was awesome. You had the top 4 of the top 5 were guys that haven't led laps all season, and you're just kind of like, what the heck is going on? And so I guess my favorite moment is the next one to happen, I guess, Brian, is if I had to put it in perspective, because it's just kind of this gift that keeps on giving as far as entertainment and learning and experiences. And, these guys have my back, and you talked about getting flack and stuff too. And to be honest with you, I think I'm my worst critic, because I'll say I screwed something up and everyone's like, well, no, you did fine. It's just, this guy over here did this thing and that. It's like no one's ever blaming me for anything. So these guys are great. They're too kind. But no, ultimately, I don't think I could pick one. I think my favorite moment was deciding to do it, I guess, because the journey's been so worth it so far, and it's only going to get better next year.
That's a great answer, especially right there. And we've always had a great time when you're behind the scenes running the stuff. It's always been exciting, regardless of what happens with the drivers on track. And
Yeah, that's a good word.
it's always been exciting, needless to say. And even then, you get up into the booth sometimes for the road racing with Brian. And I mean, I think just tremendous stuff coming out of you, Ben. And everything couldn't have been done without you and a few other guys. So for that, personally, I definitely have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this. And Brian, you as well. I might, noogie you sometimes, but
I think we all do, though. That's the beauty of this community. I know, we love to mess with Kenny and Coy and even Brian, right? But that's the beauty of this community that you built. Both of you, both Drew and Ben, you guys have built this incredible community, and I'm just happy to be a part of this. So thank you for bringing me on. And I also thank you for taking a gamble on me, man. Coming in from just FPSs with technically no iRacing broadcast experience, just throwing me in trial by fire. It has been a true and utter blast, guys.
Hey,
just real racing experience. Such a long shot.
Hey,
Shut up, Brian. You do great.
It is definitely not a gamble when it comes to your talent, and you've definitely shown that, Brian. And you know what? You make it fun for everyone out on the broadcast specifically. I don't think there's a moment where your voice comes to dull. Or the word dull comes to mind at all whenever your voice is heard. So always love having you on the broadcast, and you're just a tremendous talent as well. And Ben, even though you don't believe it, you're a tremendous talent too, believe it or not.
Ben, we love you, man.
Ben Ruprack, everybody. And just to give a perspective on what's happening for Downshift Esports next season, take a look at this short video.
For him, that's only going to help the cause of Caleb Clifton as he crosses.
Seeing this final lap come to a close. Nothing Scott Saradinsky can do will change that Tyler Tomasi is the winner of today's race.
Tomasi does it.
And I definitely think that's the most exciting thing that we've got coming to you guys next season is all of these leagues. And some of them that Ben even runs, if you like the way that he was running this one today and all the excitement that was happening. Ben is going to be running not only the Street Stock League, but also the ARCA League in terms of next season and the 2022 A season. All of these leagues are available to you guys. There's going to be certain sign-up requirements here soon when sign-ups open on December 22nd for all of these leagues. But as you can see, Street Stocks on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 weeks starting January 18th. Same for the trucks as well, starting on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern with 16 weeks there. The Formula V League on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern starting January 20th. 8 weeks there. The USF 2000 League will also be starting on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 16 weeks on that one. ARCA League, though, just a little bit different. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, January 19th, when it starts, 8 weeks as well, with all of these signups opening December 22nd. Skip Barber, the other different day is Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, starting January 17th, 8 weeks in a season right there. So if you have any interest in getting into these leagues next season, make sure to follow us on Twitter for all of the updates coming to you in a very short amount of time in terms of next week. We've got to get get that info out to you guys. We're looking forward to announcing it. We're looking forward to accepting all of you guys that look to apply and all of that stuff. But I mean, Brian and Ben, I mean, I'm kind of interested at what you guys are looking forward to come these new leagues next season.
I can't wait to see the Road Indy.
Honestly, yeah,
that's really what I want to see. I mean, that's going to be incredible. Also, like I hate to say this, and I know the road racer in me is currently like rolling over with this statement. I really want to see the trucks and the ARCAs. Like, I almost are more hyped for the lineup that we have over on the Oval Series. Like, that's going to be bangers. Like, that's going to be incredible.
It's definitely going to be awesome. That's for sure, Ben.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. I personally, I mean, I can't say that I don't have a little bit of favoritism towards ARCA simply because it is my duty to bring you guys the greatest ARCA league to ever exist, simply because it's gonna have cautions. So suck it, iRacing. The D-Class ARCA, I think, is just a very underutilization of that car, in my personal opinion. So it'll be really nice to have it and actually race it, you know, like they do in the real world, you know, running hopefully up to full length races and, you know, cautions, tire strategy, gas pit strategy, you know, winning with the big brain plays instead of just, you know, being the fastest and everything. So it's going to be good, but the road side of things are going to be good too. I'm going to see if I can sneak out of my booth duties here, maybe put a helmet on and go get me some of that road.
See, I was thinking doing that too. If my setup is done by then, I'm going to be in the road to Indy, bro. I want that.
You need a race reporter.
We gotta have one of them at least. You know, it's gotta be somebody.
You gotta be casting from the car, man.
That's gonna be awesome. Make sure to look on December 22nd for those signups to open. Make sure to follow Twitter for all of those updates. And we obviously, Ben, if you want to take this, you can let me know or not. We obviously can't go a stream, at least this season, without mentioning our sponsor, Needham Designs.
Oh my goodness, so you put me on the spot, but I can talk about my buddy Needham all day, every day. This is my dude, right? So here's the thing, right? Hey Brian, I gotta ask you, because you know about cars, right?
What's up?
Have you ever heard the saying, cool cars go faster?
Oh, of course, man.
Yes, well, this is how you hack your way through to a win in iRacing. Get you a paint scheme from Needham Designs, the man, the myth, the legend himself, with extremely fast turnaround times, amazing ideas, awesome quality. This dude knows what's up, and he will make that car probably, I don't know, maybe like 15 or 20 brake horsepower faster, but like enough, you know, you're gonna notice it's gonna go faster, and it's gonna be good. I personally run a few of his schemes myself when I get behind the wheel, and every time, you know, you're getting compliments left, right, and center, like, oh man, that's nice, you made that and everything. So Definitely check him out. And I think, Drew, you know where, right? I always forget.
Absolutely.
Where do we go
I
to see that?
absolutely know where. We go to needhamdesigns.uk/discord. That will bring you to his Discord server, where he will get you started as soon as possible on your request for a very, very cool paint scheme. Brian, I know you've got a paint scheme lined up here very soon that you're going to go try and get, I'm sure, but try not to spoil it for everyone too fast, right?
It's a secret, I promise. It's going to be incredible.
He
Well-
heard that 15 brake horsepower. He was like, heck yeah.
Mine's going to be like an extra 100 brake horsepower. Again, like, and it's going to blind everybody, so they're all going to be crashing and spinning off into the dirt.
We'll have to see what comes about that livery here next season. But make sure to tune in on Thursday for the Formula V League, the Week 10 final race for that league. It's going to be at Laguna Seca, one of my personal favorite tracks. I'm sure it's Brian's as well. Brian and Ben, actually, both of you, will be in the booth for that night. So make sure to tune in. These guys are great to listen to. They're always fun on the microphones, and I'm sure there's an exciting race inbound for all of you. My name is Drew Akers, and for Brian Schubert and Ben Ruprecht, thank you so much for tuning in to the Street Stock League final race of the 2021 season. Tune in on Thursday, and until then, have a great night.